All right, today we're going to be talking about the gastrointestinal health and why that's so important. Over 80% of our immune systems are found in the gut. So taking care of the gut is going to be a key issue if we're going to help these folks that we see walking into the pharmacies and into our clinics or whatever, if we want to help them get well. So one of the major things that we're going to concentrate on is going to be probiotics and enzymes, and we're going to do all those things. But just remember that the water that we drink has some of the biggest effects on our gut health of anything else we do. And most water, or many waters, are contaminated with different kinds of chemicals or different things that can create havoc in our body. Now, we've talked a lot about hormones as we've gone through this class, or these classes. And so one of the things that I even mentioned to Tony when he had a water bottle that day was that the plastic water bottles have cancer-causing or hormone-disrupting, some of both, chemicals in them. Many plastic bottles, most plastic bottles, have phthalates in it. And phthalates can disrupt our hormones. They're xenoestrogens, so they can affect our estrogen levels. And remember, too much estrogen causes too much growth. So we don't want to overload our body with these estrogens. And we're going to talk about that as I go through the class today. I'm going to do some demos for you. And I want to make the point that water is super important for you. And I also want to start by doing a quick little demo that shows you that all water is not the same and that the water we choose does make a big difference. So let's talk about, we did in-bodies, right? So everybody has their muscle and their body fat, and we talked about visceral fat. Well, what if we had a water that would help the body release fat more effectively? And I know it sounds crazy that all water doesn't do this the same, but it absolutely doesn't, and I'm going to prove this to you. So I'm going to take some sesame oil, and I'm going to pour some into one jar, and I'm going to pour some into another jar. Now, I know that many of you already have chemistry degrees, so this shouldn't be a shock to you as to what happens when I mix oil and water, right? They're going to separate. So let's see when I take the #1 selling water in the world, Dasani. Let's see what happens to my sesame oil when I mix Dasani in. Well, you can see that the oil will begin to rise to the top, right? So it separates. The reason that I'm going to tell you this happens is because the water is actually too big to penetrate the oil. And think, our cells are made of fat, right? The membrane around our cells, I should say, are made of fat, and they're made from cholesterol. And one of the things that happens is then when we have excess sugar and insulin, remember, or our thyroid hormones are off, or we have excess estrogen, we start to hold on to fat. So one of the ways that we can help the body release that fat, oh, and by the way, toxins are held in fat so that the body is trying to protect us from those toxins, oftentimes getting to our brain, our heart, our lungs, our kidneys, wherever. So the body is using fat sometimes as a mechanism to protect us from all the bad things we're putting in. So let's see what happens when I take Kangen water and I put it in the same sesame oil. Now look at what the difference is. One, the oil and the water separate, and the other, the water immediately makes an emulsification. As pharmacy students, hopefully y'all know what emulsifications are. So if I can drink that water versus that water, #1, I can help penetrate the cells because remember, they're coated with fat and cholesterol, and I can get the water inside the cell more effectively, which is going to be very important. And I can help the body release fat. So we see a lot of people just start to lose weight. They start to lose fat by just changing the water they drink. So why would we want water to begin with? Why is water so important? Well, water makes up about 70 to 75% of a healthy adult body. Now, many Americans are going around completely dehydrated, right? They're drinking coffee and tea and soft drinks and sports drinks and all these things that we're going to talk about as we go. But what is caffeine? How does caffeine work in the body? Well, you know that caffeine is really just a drug, and that caffeine raises heart rate, and that caffeine raises blood pressure, and that caffeine can have a negative effect on our adrenal glands. Well, what about the fact that caffeine acts as a diuretic? So people say, well, I'm drinking plenty of whatever, so I'm hydrated. But actually, caffeine creates a diuresis. So it can actually create less water in the body. And so remember that when we do that, the body can't function as well when it's not properly hydrated. If we are meant to be 70 to 75% water, it's pretty important that we try to maintain that homeostasis of the amount of water that we have in our bodies. So why do we need water to begin with? What all is it good for? Well, we've talked about some of these things before, but the brain is made up essentially of fat, of nerves, and of water. So the brain requires a lot of water in order to function properly. Water helps lubricate our joints. Water helps us go to the bathroom more effectively, both urination and bowel movements. Water helps regulate our temperature, right? We sweat when we go work out. If I go do my CrossFit workout and I'm working out really hard, I'm going to sweat. Water helps regulate my metabolism. So not only can I drink a water that helps me burn more fat, but I can help regulate my metabolism when I drink enough of the right kinds of water. What else can water do? Water helps protect the organs and the tissues because they're often surrounded with a watery-like substance, right? So water also is very important to carry oxygen to the cells. And I'm going to show you or tell you that this water, Kangen water, made from a medical device in Japan, actually increases the oxygen in the cells by 64.8% according to the research. Almost all the major league sports teams in America today use Kangen water because they understand this. And Kangen water can help people recover faster, flush out lactic and pyruvic acid, uric acid. We're going to talk about all those things as we go through. So what percent of the body is made up of water and why is it so important? Well, how about the brain? I talked about the brain. It's about 85% water. So it's pretty dang important that I get enough water to my brain for my brain to work. What about my muscles? Well, my muscles are made up of about 70% water. So the fact that I have brain and muscles, what about the blood? How about the blood? It's about 80% water. And the plasma, the more liquid part of the blood, is about 95% water. What about my liver? It's over 90% water. What about my kidneys? It's over 83% water. And you know, one of the leading causes of kidney failure is simply dehydration. As a matter of fact, I did a consult just this morning when I'm filming this of a lady who was in stage 4 kidney failure. Now, I want y'all to start thinking about this. This is a little bit of homework I'm going to give you for next week or the next couple weeks, but I want you to start thinking about this lady. She's got stage 4 kidney failure. She is in her early 60s. She's a white female. And she come in to do a consult with me because the doctors have just basically told her there's nothing left for you but dialysis. Her creatinine is over 3. Her GFR is 15. So her kidneys are in pretty bad shape. Well, what do you think the number one thing, based off some of the other classes we've talked about, that I want to know? Well, number one, we want to know what drugs she's on, right? And I'm going to give you a list. Number two, I want to know what her fasting insulin is. And I'm going to tell you, she doesn't know. And nobody's ever checked all these years that she's been sick. She's been going to the same doctor for over 15 years, and she said she's worse off than she's ever been. So she's on lisinopril for her blood pressure, of course. She was on amlodipine for her blood pressure. She is on allopurinol and has been long-term for uric acid levels and gout prevention. She is on statin drugs. She's on pravastatin, 40 milligrams, and has been long-term. And she's on gabapentin for her neuropathy. She's on metformin, and she's on furosemide. Now, she's been on these drugs long-term. She has kidney failure, stage 4 kidney failure now. I want you as pharmacy students to take that list of drugs and find me the ones that have negative effect on her kidneys. And I want you to come back and I want you to report in class and email me what might be going on and what might be a problem. And should she know her fasting insulin? Is that a problem for kidney failure? Because remember, diabetes is the number one cause of kidney failure in the United States. So this lady, Joanne's her name, has all these things going on. She's been on all these drugs, and now all of a sudden she needs dialysis, they tell her. So is there a way that we can help Joanne not have to go on dialysis. That's her goal. She wants to be able to avoid dialysis for as long as possible. And so when we can get people to hydrate the body with a water that is a smaller molecule that will get into the cells more effectively, we've actually helped people come off dialysis and help people avoid dialysis. So that's just part of the reasons why this is so important and why this water in particular makes a big difference versus other waters. So I want you to come in with an open mind. I know a lot of the things we talk about in here are totally foreign or in the face of what you've learned, and that's okay. That's what this class was supposed to be about, was real world, how to help people get better, how to be on the front lines, how to help people have a better outcome. So just understand that this water, I've watched it for over 20 years now, totally change people's lives. And what I want to do is talk about Dr. Hiromi Shinya, the leading GI doctor in the world, who was one of the guys who taught me about this water and why it's so important. As a matter of fact, he is a doctor in Japan and in the United States, and he is a lot of our more important diplomats here and in Japan's doctor. And he will not take on a new patient that will not drink Kangen water, because he says if their health is no more important than that to them, that he's not willing to see them as a patient. So this water really does make a difference. He has all kinds of stories and pictures of colonoscopies before and after Kangen water, and how there were polyps before and there's no polyps after, and how there was a backup of debris or waste before and none after. How he's had people with cancer, colon cancer before and none after. So he uses the water in a lot of different ways, and it has a lot of properties that make it much different than other water. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a demonstration, and I'm going to show you a lot of different aspects of the water other than the one I've already showed you, which is a smaller water molecule that helps increase the body's ability to burn and release fat and cleanse cells and get into the cell and increase oxygen. It gets into the brain and hydrates the brain more effectively. So all these things are wins, right? If we can put more oxygen, if we can decrease toxins, if we can do all these things and we can decrease fat, we can help the body have a better outcome. Because remember, do you think this right here is important for those folks, those 80 to 120 million people with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? Do you think this is important for people that have fat around their pancreas so their beta cells are not functioning as properly as they should? Think about how powerful just this one little aspect of this water is as we go into the rest of it. All right, and we're going to talk about another really important aspect of Kangen water, and that is its high antioxidant potential. So believe it or not, this water made from this medical device in Japan, not in the United States, has a very high antioxidant potential. And as pharmacy students, you all understand the importance of antioxidants, right? You understand that oxidation is aging or damage or rusting inside the body, rusting inside the cells, rusting inside the organs. And so if we can take antioxidants in high enough amounts, we can offset, right? We can neutralize a lot of that oxidation. Think about the reasons that people have so much oxidation today. Well, we're around all the EMFs, right? We're around all the chemicals. We're around all the xenoestrogens. We're around all the toxins that people are putting on and in them on a daily basis. We have high blood sugars that's causing glycation and oxidation. We have stress that's causing oxidation and high blood sugars. We have high insulin level, which is causing more oxidation and glycation. So we're just surrounded by this stuff. We just live in a world that is surrounded by this. So we have to protect our bodies if we want to have good health outcomes. And if you know this, then you're able to help other people have good health outcomes. So I want to just talk to you for a minute about an oxidation reduction potential meter that I'm going to use here for this. And what I'm going to do is show you that just tell you and show you on this meter that any positive number is oxidizing. So anything that shows up on our meter as a positive number is causing oxidation or damage inside the cells potentially. Anything that shows up as negative is an antioxidant and can help offset that oxidation effect. So anti-aging, anti-disease. Here's the deal. The bigger the positive number, the more oxidation a substance can cause inside our body. The bigger the negative number, the more protective that substance is against harmful additives or harmful oxidation or harmful glycation in our body. So I'm going to get Garrett to come up here and he's going to help me. We're just going to take all these fresh, except for my Aquafina, which we used a little bit to show you the sesame sample of what the water does. And we're going to test these waters' oxidation reduction potential. Okay, give us just a minute as we pour. So as Garrett pours all these into the glasses, then I'm going to do the oxidation reduction potential. And remember, the higher the positive number, the more damaging. The bigger the negative number, the more protective. So we need to keep that in mind as we go when we're looking at Dasani, the #1 selling water in America, right? Made by who? Coke. Aquafina, we're going to use Aquafina, the #2 selling water in America, made by who? Pepsi. Then we're going to look at Smart Water because they tell me how smart it is, and they have the only contract that as I understand it, of water companies that can actually be in the health food section of a store and not just in the water section of a store. So let's see how smart Smart Water is. And then we're going to use Essentia because this water tells me that it is ionized and it's 9.5 pH. I'm going to show you that the way that a water is ionized and the way that that happens and the way we get the pH up is very important. Then something that's become very popular is this sparkling water, LaCroix, and we're going to see what happens with that. Then we're going to get to vitamin water, and the vitamin water says right on the front of it that it is full of antioxidants, vitamin C, vitamin B5, B6, antioxidant vitamins A, E, and zinc, and electrolytes. So this has got to be a negative on our oxidation reduction potential because it's full of antioxidants, it tells me. Then we're going to look at Sprite, right? Sprite's really good for us, and I want you to keep in mind all the chemicals that are in these carbonated drinks, even this carbonated water, and how damaging that can be as we go through this little demo. Then we're going to look at Propel, which is electrolyte water, so that's got to be super healthy. And then finally, we're going to look at Gatorade, which of course is our electrolyte drinks that we're told are super hydrating and super good for us when we're out and about working. So let's see what happens when we look at all these waters and we look at all these other drinks and we look at soft drinks. Let's see what the oxidation reduction potential is as Garrett finishes pouring the last few.